Yo, 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 what it do? What it be? It's your boy, A&T, repping the motherfucking game. Gang, you know we don't play none of that. If you a lame, you can't hang all of that. Bang, bang, and I'm back with another top 5 list. I've covered the top centers of the 50s, 60s, and 70s. Today we're going to be talking about the top 5 centers of the 1980s, and then we're going to go beyond that in later videos, 90s, 2000s, 2010s. Not going to do the 2020s because we only about 5 years in. So we're going to wait on that, but some of the centers today still, they have a case for the top 10 all-time list that I will do after I do all the decades and all that. So if y'all want to stay tuned on all that and some of the other hot content that I be having dropping on this channel real soon, y'all could subscribe, ring the notification bell so y'all don't miss nothing that y'all can see it as soon as it drop. I also live stream on Game Gang Live. That's another YouTube channel up on here. Y'all want to look that up, subscribe there. I do let's plays and do longer form streams, just kind of just randomly ranting, just yapping. I ain't even going cap with y'all, but y'all can go follow me on there, see a lot more of your boy on there, you feel me? But yeah, today we gonna be covering the top centers of the 80s. I only got one honorable mention, and we'll get right into the list. But the 80s and the 90s, some would argue, are the best basketball years, period. That is the golden era for basketball. I'm not going to go that far because we do have some great players today, even. But undeniably, I think the 80s and 90s by far have the most talent at the center position. Not even just the most, but they have the most talented centers as well in these 2 decades. Just my opinion, though. So coming up with 2 top 5s in the decade was kind of hard, but I'm getting through there with some pretty valid research and shit like that. And even though the centers were still a focal point of building a championship or even a dynasty team, teams were starting to focus on players with more flashy play styles in other positions like guards and forwards, such as Magic Johnson, Michael Jordan, Larry Bird. They were very flashy players compared to the Wilt Chamberlains, who were mostly dominant in the paint. Jerry West was not a very rambunctious player. He wasn't a shit talker. I mean, maybe, but not on the level of like a Larry Bird or even like a Gary Payton that would come around later. But yeah, it was definitely more focused on flashier play styles in this era. And they did still have, like I said, some talented centers, but the centers were not necessarily the centerpiece of the dynasty, pardon the pun. But I'll go kind of further into that point later as I get into like the later on in the list. I do have, like I said, one honorable mention for the 80s, and that's Jack Sikma. He already had a ring he wanted a ring in the 70s with the Seattle Supersonics. He didn't win any rings in the 80s. And yeah, he was a tenacious defender. He was a consistent scorer, not like an elite scorer or anything like that. He averaged less than 20 points a game. But again, won the Supersonics their only championship. I mean, until technically OKC won one, and they used to be the Sonics. But ask anybody in Seattle if they count that. You feel me? So he got the Seattle Sonics only ring, and he didn't win any rings in the 80s, but he did go to 6 All-Stars. He averaged 16 points, 10 rebounds, and 1 block, and he was a tenacious defender and very consistent scoring, like I said. In 1988, he led the NBA in free throw percentage, but other than that, Sikma doesn't really have any accolades that would make me put him in the top 5. He deserves to be there, especially when compared to some of the other guys that I'm about to mention. But the closest guy, he could have been number 5, but Bill Laimbeer. I got Bill Laimbeer at number 5, and yeah, his legendary defense, it walked the tightrope of the rules and legalities of the NBA, known as a very dirty player. And despite all that, he was known as a a tough defender. He was guarding some of the toughest centers in NBA history and still managed to get a ring at the end of the 80s with the Bad Boy Pistons, which he was a starter on. They say that he was the defender on the team, but really that was Rodman. Rodman was guarding the best big that they had, while Joe Dumars defended the best scorer and or guard on the other team. Like that's how it worked. And I don't think it's really controversial to say that. And I think that playing with these great teammates may or may not have hindered Laimbeer a little bit, because Laimbeer he could shoot the rock. He was a decent 3-point shooter, but the way the league was back then, they were not encouraging Bill Laimbeer to take 5 threes a game or anybody like that. Even Isaiah Thomas and Joe Dumars lived in the mid range. You feel me? So the play style might have hindered his numbers, but again, like that's all we can go on is what era he played in, and relative to the era he played in, kind of wasn't all that. His stats are nothing to really like look twice at. Matter of fact, like I said, him and Sigma had very similar stats. I think Bill had like 14 points. He averaged 9.99 rebounds and then 0.99 blocks. So he was basically essentially 1 block and 10 rebounds, along with 2 less points than Sigma. The only thing is I gave him the edge because he won a ring in the 80s. And yeah, he wasn't the best player on that team, but was definitely still a focal point. It's not like he was just standing around doing nothing. He was definitely a major factor on those teams, especially after, Rodman left and stuff like that. But again, Sigma and Laimbeer, both kind of undersized. They're like 6'10", compared to some of the 7-footers and beyond that they were having to guard, and stronger guys. They still managed to carve out a significant role for themselves. But Bill just edged him out at that number 5 position. Pause. At number 4, I have another center that was a defensive anchor for a dynasty, and despite his numbers being better than Bill Laimbeer's, Robert Parrish doesn't really get talked about like that in this era. He averaged 18 points, 10.5 rebounds, and almost 2 blocks in the 80s. I don't know if he would have scored more or less if he didn't play with Larry Bird and Kevin McHale and all them, but he did help them get 3 chips and was top 5 in MVP voting in 82, along with making 7 All-Star teams. So even though Parrish got 3 rings, like I said, just like Bill, he was never considered the best guy on his teams playing with Bird and them. Again, the kind of why he gets overlooked, he played on a bomb squad, as some people might put it. Same thing with Laimbeer. And he still averaged, again, more than Laimbeer, but I almost put him at number 3. But when I did more research and did my homework, bruh, number 3, I had to put Hakeem Olajuwon. He didn't win any rings in the 80s, but his accolades, in my opinion, and what he was doing far outweigh the rings that Parrish and Laimbeer got. And this is just mine. If you value rings and winning more, sure, I'll concede that. But Hakeem didn't have the teams that they had and was putting up insane numbers. Went to 11 All-Stars. Went to All-Star. As soon as he got drafted, he went to All-Stars the rest of the 80s. Went to 11 total. And was making all defensive teams, all NBA teams, damn near every year, was being considered every year. Laimbeer and Parrish were not. Neither was Sigma. They were not even regular considerations. Like, they're not making third teams, none of that. So, that's why I put Hakeem. His body at work is crazy, the numbers he was putting up. He was averaging 23 points, 12 rebounds, 4 blocks. And those numbers didn't dip when he got to the playoffs. He was still putting on when they was getting to the offs. He just, again, Hakeem's teams was not even comparable to those the Celtics or the Lakers, Magic's Lakers, or even even the Sixers. had some squads that you were just far better than those Rockets teams, especially in the 80s. At number 2 and number 1 in the 80s, it's another toss-up, and I'm not mad either way. But if I had to pick, at number 2, it's Moses Malone. 3 MVPs, 2 in the 80s. He won 1 in the 70s. He got 1 championship with Dr. J, 13-time All-Star. Was making All-NBA teams as well. He averaged 24, 13, and 1 block. He dominated in both the ABA and NBA. He just didn't win the rings as the second option like he should have. The Celtics made sure of that, of course. And despite his lack of championships, his numbers and accolades by far outweigh those fourth option rings of Parrish and Laimbeer. That's, I'll give it to him on that. He was by far, it was like more of a Batman, Superman situation with Dr. J, especially because Dr. J was older. I mean, Moses was a little bit older too, but he doesn't really get talked about like that because he won an MVP for the Rockets, then got traded to the Sixers and won an MVP the following year. I don't know what it was in that era, but nobody wanted to claim Moses Malone and make him their franchise centerpiece until, he's known as a Sixer. But again, he was winning MVPs and shit in Houston too before Hakeem got there. So he's just one of those players like with Parrish or like Parrish that just gets overlooked just because he didn't have the success. And in Parrish's case, it was because he played with a bomb squad of recognizable talent like McHale, Dennis Johnson, and Larry Bird. And again, his lack of championships, that's another reason why he didn't get that number 1 spot. And the number 1 spot for the second decade in a row is Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. I've already talked about Kareem's stats and accolades for the most part. I mean, he got 5 MVPs in the 70s and then got 5 rings in the 80s, along with 1 championship in the 70s. So 6 rings, 5 MVPs in a span of 20 years. I mean, yeah, that's dominant, buddy. And in my opinion, if you put him on Pistons, Sixers, Celtics, those teams would still be just as dominant, if not more so. They would probably win more rings if they had Kareem on the squad, especially those Sixers team with Dr. J. You replace Moses with Kareem, with Dr. J, Mo Cheeks, and Bobby Jones. Like, it's still a squad, and they might win more than 1 in the 80s. It's my opinion, though. And I don't really like doing hypotheticals like that, but it's the same era, so it's not really like too far back type shit. But yeah, he should have won the 80s MVP in the finals, but Kareem got hurt and Magic stepped up in the last game, so the voters switched, just for media reasons, and also like I said, Magic wasn't playing bad either. I think he had like a 45-point game, 16 rebounds, and like 9 assists. Some crazy shit like that. Magic was going off. It's not like he didn't deserve it either. And Kareem wasn't really hating him either. Kareem was just like, yeah, no, that's good for bro. So he was never a hater. And on 2 decades of being the best center. Is he going to be number 1 all time? I don't know. Y'all going to have to stay tuned. You feel me? But, yeah, we're going to get into the 90s next video. Y'all stay tuned for that. Like I said, I'm going to do some live streaming probably tonight, honestly, after this video drop. Later on tonight around maybe like 11, midnight-ish. I'll be streaming kind of late, so catch me if you can type shit, Yeah, I hope y'all enjoyed this video. If you have any disagreements, on where people should be placed, I'm open to debate a little bit in the comments and stuff like that. And if you liked it, leave a like. If not, it's all good. Come back again. Maybe you like my next video type shit. But nah, y'all be safe. Have a good one. Have a good Friday, rest of the weekend, whenever y'all watching it. Hope y'all have a good one. But I'm out. Y'all be safe. I hope y'all enjoyed this old Arkham. What is it? Arkham City. gameplay that I'm bringing to y'all. This is on my PS4, so I apologize if the quality isn't as good as when I upload off the PS5. But I figured why not use some of this old gameplay I got, some of these old videos or games that I be playing on the 4. I know I could still play them on the 5, but I ain't got all the memory for that, you feel me? But like I say, yeah, y'all get it. Y'all have a good one. I'm out. Peace.
You want some? Fine with me.
You're gonna die here, Batman.
You want some?
You're gonna die here.